ladies and gentlemen, this is Brandon Lotus from Brandon's World here. And as I was editing my interview with Andy Z, the Shohei Ohtani interpreter potential betting scandal did happen. Now, the recording of this podcast happened before the scandal all went down, so we don't dive into that today on the podcast. As always, here in Brandon's World, I will comment more on the scandal when we get more details. Obviously, there's a lot of murky details surrounding this situation and could be potentially bad for not only the Los Angeles Dodgers star, but Major League Baseball as a whole. And I am expecting that more gambling scandals like this one, no matter if it does involve an interpreter or somebody that represents the team, will happen not only in Major League Baseball, but will happen throughout sports due to the nature of how much these leagues have promoted gambling over the last past few years. And you guys know, obviously, we do Brandon's best bets here on the podcast during the NFL season. So as always, make sure if you wager, have a plan, wager responsibly. And now let's get back to the Brandon's World podcast, my interview with Andy Z. One of the reasons why I wanted to bring on this man Andy to the podcast is because Andy is the biggest fan of new Los Angeles Dodgers Shohei Ohtani. And well, as we know, apparently Ohtani made his debut today, though nobody knows because it was in South Korea here at 6 a.m. in the morning Eastern time, because the MLB does a great job at marketing their stars. But
Yeah, talking about marketing, it's a complete flip.
yeah, you're not kidding. But Andy knows my take on Ohtani, and he's gonna rip me for it, and I'm all here for it because Andy believes Shohei Ohtani is one of the greatest players he's ever seen. And as I've been telling everybody on the Britain's World podcast that will listen, and again, this is where you tell me where I'm wrong type of deal. I cannot figure out why in baseball the Los Angeles Angels have the so-called two best players in baseball with Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani and didn't make the playoffs. To me, it tells me it's not about having the best player, it's the ultimate team game.
I don't disagree with you there. It is the ultimate team game. But I mean, much like the NFL, I mean, you could have the greatest. Well, actually, I can't even say that's true because Tom Brady was on a team with a bunch of no names on offense for the longest part of his career and still won Super Bowls. But MLB, if you think about the game of baseball, it's every single play is an individual performance tied together that makes up a full game, right? If I'm up to bat, there's nobody else on my team that's helping me unless you're a Houston Astro,
Yep.
right? Of course. So, I'm up to bat and it's just me versus the pitcher. And there's only, if you're a guy like Shohei Ohtani or Mike Trout, that's 1/9 or 2/9 of an entire team. So you see the memes all the time. Shohei Ohtani goes 3 for 5 with 2 home runs and a double. Mike Trout goes 2 for 4 with a walk and a triple and a double, and the Angels fall to the Yankees, 3-9.
Yeah.
Unless Ohtani's on the mound, of course, because then they're probably winning that game. I mean, if you look at the numbers, this guy Ohtani, 38-19, 1 loss when he's on the mound. 38-19. And that's while he's on the Los Angeles Angels with nobody around him helping him on defense, nobody at the plate helping him at the plate, except for himself and Mike Trout. So it's, when you think of the best player in baseball, you got to think of that truly is measured by value, most valuable player, right? Because there's guys in the NFL who are the best player in the NFL, but they don't provide the most value to their team. But a guy like Ohtani, who is, A- to A+ at hitting, A- to A+ at pitching on any given day, being able to do both of those things at the same time, I mean, you can't compete with that, right? You get 2 players for the price of 1 really expensive player. You got a guy who's going to come up to the plate 5 times and be successful 2 out of those 5 times pretty much every game. And you got a guy who's going to go out there and put up as many runs offensively as he gives up defensively. He he's a 1-for-1 trade. If you look at his ERA last year, I think it was somewhere right around 3, maybe 3.01 or somewhere there. But I mean, I don't know how many runs he contributed to the game, but it sure felt like it was more than 2, right? I mean, how many times did we see this Ohtani? Let's see. I actually have his numbers right here. Offensively, he put up 95 RBIs
Okay.
in 135 games. So just, that's
Okay.
probably what,
That's just
0.75 runs a
RBI
game.
per game, which in baseball is pretty much Hall of Fame worthy.
Right. So, I mean, he's contributing so much to this team offensively, and him on the Dodgers is just going to be an absolute cheat code. Um, there's going to be guys on base when he comes up to bat. That's one thing. If he's putting up the same number of home runs, he's going to have way more guys. That RBI number is going to skyrocket.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's going to skyrocket. And I don't even know if he's pitching this year.
You and
Um,
and so that's the argument I've always made about Ohtani. And yes, he can be a great pitcher, obviously Cy Young or winner, great hitter. His talent is obviously a unicorn talent. The issue that I have had with him is, and I think it's one of the reasons why we're not seeing as many players transition and do the things that he does, is because he has gotten hurt a lot. Last year he got hurt at the end of the year. 2 years before that, it pretty much blew his arm out.
yep.
And that is my one worry, is the consistency, which is why I've said, to me, his greater impact is being, an everyday player hitting. And specifically for this Dodger team, I don't think he needs to pitch for this Dodger team. I would not pitch him. I would just consistently focus on the hitting. Because if you do pitch him and something does go wrong with that arm, well, then you're back to pretty much the same team you had last year.
Right. I mean, he played through the injury though last year, right? He got injured, or he's going to be playing through it this year, right? How many games did he miss last year? I guess he played 135 games, so he missed, just under 30. And he's already back on the field. He played last night, this morning. So that injury, I mean, it hasn't really affected him hitting wise. Well, I mean, obviously we'll see the stats as the months go on, but I mean, it's just to get a guy who can hit 304, 20 stolen bases, 143 strikeouts, which in the last 3 years, last year had the least amount of strikeouts in the last 3 years. 21 intentional walks, 44 home runs. I mean, he's a 3-time All-Star, 2-time AL MVP, 4-time All-NBA first team, 2-time All-NBA second team, Rookie of the Year, 2-time Silver Slugger, 3-time Edgar Martinez Award, which is given to the best DH in baseball, Hank Aaron Award winner, which is given to the best hitter in each league, AL home run leader, AL triples leader, 2-time AP Athlete of the Year, and to cap it all off, he hit for the cycle in 2019, which only 1.5% of baseball players ever have ever done. So you give me a guy like that.
Now, if he retired.
Say it again.
I said that's a Hall of Fame resume right now if he retired.
Yeah, and he's played 6 years in the MLB.
Yeah.
What, 5 years? This is either his 6th or 7th year, but and then on top of that, you got a guy who, even if he doesn't ever come back as a starter based on the injury, which I think he will, to have him be able to come in and throw you 3 innings in the 6th, 7th, 8th, how much stress that takes off his arm and still be able to have a Hall of Fame middle reliever. It's by all means worth every penny for the LA Dodgers.
Well, that you completely changed my mind on, because I completely agree with you on that.
Okay.
It turns into even just like a 7th or an 8th inning, 1 inning relief pitcher, every third night, or
Right.
if you want to do just a playoff series, close out a playoff series, that's an ultimate weapon. And that's the difference between going out in the first round, if you're the Dodgers for the last how many years outside of the COVID
Yeah.
year, to, winning the World Series.
Do you so I know you've said before you don't think that there is a best player in baseball.
I think Ohtani is the closest to it. But again, My issue is it's hard to quantify without the winning being there. I think the Dodgers and that stacked team will help him, which I think now will only elevate him now that he's out of that dumpster fire that's the Angels.
So if it wasn't Otani last year, who would you say was the best player in baseball?
Again, I don't think that there was one. I I
Oh,
I I really don't. I think that it's such a collectiveness. Um,
yes,
and I've used this example before, and you've said it. Otani can go 5 for 5 with 5 home runs, and they'd still lose the game 12-7, or
right,
it could be. So that's the hard part. In the NBA, it is guys scoring at will, putting up 50, 60 a night. One guy can take it over. NFL, we know about the quarterback position. If you have a quarterback, you're going to win games. Baseball is the weird one because you don't necessarily have to have a great center fielder. You could have a great, second baseman. You could have a great shortstop. The position doesn't matter as much as production.
right.
So let me ask you this though. So I've asked people, and obviously the baseball season has quote unquote started for 2 games, and then they're gonna go back to spring training. Like I have no idea what the hell baseball is doing. But um, do you have the Dodgers this year coming out as the World Series champs?
On paper, you have to, right? I mean, it would be silly to pick another team, but the Dodgers are the Dodgers in the playoffs, right? They haven't shown us anything other than the COVID year. They haven't given us any reason to believe in them in the playoffs. But I mean, just on any given year, if you look at that roster, you have Otani, Betts, is Freeman still over there? Kershaw still there? I mean, you have an absolutely loaded roster.
I'll say this. I do think Atlanta would be the one team in the National League that could challenge them. Their lineup is filled with power, just like the Dodgers. But I think their rotation and their bullpen may be just a tiny bit better than the Dodgers. The only thing you got to question with Atlanta to me is their health.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the Dodgers roster, you have Glass now. You have this guy Yamamoto coming in. I mean,
Oh
he's
yeah, he's gonna be fantastic for them
he's
too. You're right.
I
That's a good point.
I think he had a little bit of a rough spring, but I mean, the stuff that I saw from him in Japan, just unreal. Walker Bueller, Clayton Kershaw. I mean, that's 1, 2, 3. You have 5 guys there that on any given day, if they're on that season, you could you could see them being in the finalists for Cy Young Award, right? Bueller, Kershaw, Yamamoto, which I can't really say that yet because he hasn't played, but Glass now and Otani. I mean, that rotation, it's just crazy. It's crazy.
So let me give you one baseball question here in regards to our Cleveland Guardians. This year, I think the division's going to be as bad as ever. If it wasn't as bad last year, I think it might be even worse this year. I think
Mhm.
Minnesota is going to be in for another even odd year flip where they have a down year. I think Kansas City's still rebuilding. I think the White Sox are a disaster. And so I really think the only team that could challenge the Guardians for the division is maybe Detroit, and I kind of feel like they're a year away. I think 85 wins and a division title is reasonable for this Guardians team. A little bit worried about the Gavin Williams injury that's come on to spring training, but
Yeah.
Bieber's got his velocity back up, and if McKenzie's
McKenzie,
healthy and this rotation stays healthy, I actually think this team's got a chance to win the division with first year manager Stephen Vogt.
Bibby as well, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that looking at it right now, the Guardians finished last year 76 and 81, which is a couple games under 500. I would flip that. I would say 86 and 76 would be their record this year. That's my prediction. I don't know what FanDuel has them at. But I think somewhere around 85, 86 wins. You have a killer rotation. You have a very good bullpen. And, these Guardians have had a strange way over the last 5 to 10 years of finding these pitchers by the third month of the season, you're like, oh my God, that's another Cy Young candidate right there. Bieber, Kluber, Bauer, Bibby. I mean, it's amazing. I don't know. They've been one of the teams. They've probably been the best team in the MLB at developing pitching, right? And then these guys, and they've been also very good at letting go of guys at the right time. You moved on from what was his name? Sunshine?
Yeah, Clevenger.
Clevenger. You moved on from Kluber.
Bauer.
You moved on from Bauer. I mean, you've gotten these guys out of your clubhouse just in the nick of time, and they've done it. With all three of those guys, it was perfect timing. I'm afraid Bieber might be on the block at some point this year. But if they don't trade him for a big bat, then what's the point of doing the trade? Because it's no secret. That's the one thing the Guardians haven't had in the last 5 years is that bat. They've had Jose, they had Lindor, but the outfield's killed us. Been terrible offensively. You've had Steven Kwan, but you ran through, what was his name? Bradley Zimmer, Bobby Bradley, Miles Straw. It's just been an atrocious rotation in the outfield. Catcher's been decently bad. I'm hoping Bo has a better year this year. He just couldn't find anything at the plate. I was sad to see Yan Gomes go when he did. But I mean, the Guardians are a tried and true small market baseball team, right? They have their 3 years of glory and then they fall off the face of the earth, but they haven't really fallen off the face of the earth after their 3 years of glory. They've always kind of been in the mix. Tito's kept them in the mix, and I'm excited for Stephen Vogt to come in and shake things up a little bit. I think Tito's still going to be with the franchise in some capacity. I don't know if he's there right now, but I think he wants to come back and stay with the team in some capacity. He's clearly had a good eye for developing talent because half our team is a Yankee or a Dodger by the end of the year anyway. So I'm excited. The big name that I want to put out there in the Guardians farm system, which we got this podcast in a week too late, because if I had said this a week ago, I would have been the guy. But Chase DeLauter, coming out of the farm system, he's had an amazing 2 weeks in spring training. I think he's hitting .510 right now and 25 at bats, 26 at bats.
Mashing balls.
Destroying baseballs. And I told my dad about him yesterday, and I was like, have you heard of this kid DeLauter? He's not really. And I was like, he's like, oh, maybe it's a fluke, right? Anybody can come into spring training and get hot. And I'm like, well, if you look at his numbers from minor league ball last year, I think he finished the year hitting .355, or his whole career in minor league ball right now, he's hitting .355, which, that's not fluky.
No.
Yeah, last year, finished 2023 hitting .364 with an OBP of .464. That was in Double-A with Akron. Before that, hit .366 in A+ and .286 in rookie ball. So finished the season hitting .355 amongst 3 levels of baseball, which that's definitely a bright spot for the Guardians in the farm system.
Like that clip from the Brands World podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brands World podcast right here on YouTube.